Hello and welcome to the Coder Dojo today. Hope everyone's keeping well. So if you live in Western Australia like me, we're currently under a lockdown at the moment, so we decided to do a live stream today. Normally I've been doing the videos, so if you've been following the videos, bear in mind that this is all happening live, so the pace of it's going to be a bit different. It's going to be a little bit slower than the 20-minute videos. So if you need to skip ahead, you're watching this after the live stream has already gone up, then by all means do that. We're going to give it maybe 5 minutes or so, just in case there's a few people coming along to the live stream later. How's it going, Christopher Jason? Are you keeping well? Free Games Tube can't be here because they've got to be at school, but that's fine. This will go up as a recording later. So today we are going to be doing a shmup, or a shoot 'em up, or a scrolling shooter. So like one of the more iconic versions of this game is Galaga, very old game. The game that I really like that comes from this, it's also pretty old by probably your standards, is a game called Tyrion. As you can see, it's kind of like Space Invaders, but you're able to make a lot more bullets. You're able to make a lot more projectiles. And the whole screen is scrolling, so you feel like you're going somewhere. There's some other shooters like Raiden and Raptor, 1942. Some of them go sideways. We're going to be one that's scrolling upwards. And the thing that you'll notice is that a lot of the ones, especially the later ones, really go overboard with how many things you can shoot. Like just more and more things that your character, your little starship, can fire out. And I thought that would be the cool thing that we could do today. The actual mechanics of the ship flying is probably stuff that you're familiar with if you've done Scratch before. But the thing that should be quite interesting is we can create an arc, a fan of projectiles. So I'm going to show you the project. Let's have a check on the chat. Hey, Ganny boy, how's it going? Hope you guys are keeping well. So, this is the basic game that we're going to be making today. We've got our character that follows the mouse. And you can move them around. They've got these enemies that they're trying to avoid. We've made the shooting automatic so that you don't need to hold down a button. It's very similar to a lot of the later versions of these types of games. Sometimes sometimes they're called bullet hell games because they have lots and lots of bullets in them. But this cool little fan of projectiles we're able to make, I wanted an easy way to be able to increase the number of projectiles. Whoops. Like this. So now we've got a ton more projectiles. And we can also change the arc of the projectiles. So we can see, if we make tons, we can then move the arc so that they are surrounding us more. Or we can narrow it so that they're going more in front of us. And then this kind of gives you the ability to make a game where you can collect power-ups that increase the number of projectiles you make. Make your ship more powerful, deal more damage, that kind of thing. I've got a little flying Scratch superhero cat here at the moment that's fighting pterodactyls, but your game could look more like those other games we were looking at the beginning of the stream, like starships and explosions and laser beams and that kind of thing. Okay, so just bear in mind, Christopher, that once we actually start going, probably people will be concentrating on their coding a little bit, so they won't be able to respond to you really, really fast. In fact, actually, this is a good opportunity. I'm just going to go through a few ground rules for today's stream. So I want everyone in chat to be positive and encouraging. We're here to have fun, so no being mean or making fun of people or anything like that. So we're going to be We're going to be positive, especially if later on we need to fix some people's code. We're all going to be really positive and encouraging to each other in the chat. Okay, that's the rule. Don't do too much. Don't do any spamming in chat. Don't spam the same thing over and over and over and over again. If you do, I'll have to time you out, and I don't want to have to do that because I like you guys talking to me. And I hope the latency isn't too bad, but bearing in mind when you type something into chat, there's often a bit of a delay in me responding to that. You're getting this video on a delay. So when I see your comment, I usually, if you're asking me something, I can usually respond immediately, but you won't get that response until a little bit later. So don't panic. All else fails if you get lost, if you get stuck. You can always just chill for the rest of the stream, watch how it all goes, and at the end you can watch the video, skip to the bit where you got stuck, see exactly what I did, and you'll be able to follow me that way. Okay, if you need help with your project, which the advantage of doing this live is that I can actually help you with your project, then you won't be able to post a link in the chat. YouTube won't let you. So what you're going to have to do is make sure that your Scratch project is made public so that we can see it. Make sure that you've saved it recently, and then you need to tell me what your Scratch name is, so that and the name of your project as well if it's not named something easy to find, so that I can find you on Scratch and find your project, and then we'll look at your code and figure out what the problem is. Okay, that's pretty much everything. So I reckon it might be time to make a start. So we're going to start with some of the more easier, simpler stuff. We're gonna let's start off by making some clouds that move down. And that's going to be a really good place because it's also we're going to use most of the same code to make our enemies. So everyone, make sure you've opened up Scratch. Make sure you've got a new project ready to go. If you are new and you haven't used Scratch much before, I'm going to assume everyone's used Scratch a little bit. So I'm not going to explain every little thing. So if again this gets a little too complicated, don't panic. I've got a video on the channel which is a beginner's introduction to Scratch. You can go away and watch that and come back to this stream with a bit more knowledge. But I'll explain some things along the way. So, everyone ready to go? Everyone ready to do some coding? Alrighty. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottom right corner, hover over this choose a backdrop symbol just here. Click on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look for Blue Sky 2. And then select Blue Sky 2. Now later on you can change these graphics to anything that you like. But don't spend too much time on that right now because graphics are easy to change later. But the coding is hard and you've got me here right now. So if you get the coding right now, you can spend as much time later changing the graphics to whatever you want later. So we've got our blue sky, we're going to make some clouds. If this was a space game, we could make these stars or planets that were slowly scrolling behind us down. So we're going to go to the choose a sprite button right in the bottom right corner of the screen, click on that. And I'm just going to type in the top left corner, cloud. And I'm going to choose this one here, these nice clouds. Alrighty, so you should have now these nice little flat clouds. And we're going to make some code that spawns them at the top of the screen and makes them move downwards. So first of all, we're going to go to events and we're going to look for when green flag clicked. Drag that out. When green flag clicked, and it's nice and big for you guys to see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hide the original cloud sprite because we're going to make a bunch of clones out of this cloud sprite, but we need the original to be hidden so that it can't be seen as it's making all of its clones. So we're going to go to the purple category looks. Now look near the bottom and you should find show and hide. We need the hide. Drag that out and put it underneath when green flag clicked, okay? Now we're going to go to the orange category, control, and we're going to get out a forever loop. That's 3 from the top forever, and put it underneath the hide. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the blue category, dark blue category, motion, and we're going to get out go to X and then a number, Y and then a number. So mine says like minus 130, minus 118. Yours will say something different. It depends where your cloud is right now. We'll change these numbers. So pull that out, go to X equals and Y equals. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to looks. We're going to change some things. We're going to go to looks, the purple category. We're going to get out a switch costume to, make sure it's switch costume to, and then pull out a set size to. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna randomize a bunch of this stuff, but we'll do that in a second once we've got everything together. And then we're gonna go to the orange category, control, and we're gonna get out a wait 1 seconds, put that there, and then a create clone of myself. Okay, so this should be everything we've got so far. First thing is we send the cloud somewhere, then we change its costume, then we change its size, then we wait for an amount of time, then we create a clone. So these are the 5 lines of code we need. Now we're going to introduce some chaos with a random number generator. I love a bit of chaos in my games. So to do that, we're going to go to the green category, operators. Do that with me now. Now look at the 5th one from the top where it says pick random 1 to 10. Pull out one of those, and I want this to go, hover it so that the left side of it is hovered over your X, little socket next to X. Okay? So then drop that in. We've got our go to X, pick random. Now, if you understand how the coordinates work in Scratch, basically these numbers are to do with where stuff is on the screen. So the X number tells you where stuff should be in terms of how far left and how far right it is, and the Y number tells you how far something up you should be up and down. So we want these clouds to appear at the very top of the screen. So click on that number after where it says Y, and we're going to change that to, let's say 200. That's theoretically above the top of the screen. So we'll pop that as high as we can probably make it. So we'll say Y equals 200. Now the X, we want these clouds to appear at random points along the top of the screen and slowly make their way down. So we're gonna put in the first socket where there's the 1 in our pick random, delete that 1 and type in, well, let's say minus 230. That minus 230 means that it's 230 pixels left from the middle of the screen, because 0 is the middle, and then everything on the left of it is a minus number, and everything on the right of it is a plus number, is a not a minus number. So we're going to mirror this on the other side. So we're going to say we're going to take out the 10, delete that 10 and type in 230. So now we've got go to X equals pick random minus 230 to 230, and Y equals 200. That's going to make it go to the top, to a random point along the top side of the screen. So you might have noticed, but this cloud sprite has a bunch of different types of costumes, different clouds. We're going to make use of these. So in the code, I want you to pull out pick random 1 to 10. And can you see where it says switch costume to? Drop that pick random on top of that where it says cloud D or something like that. So you've got pick random 1 to 10. We're going to make this pick random 1 to 4 because there are 4 costumes in the cloud sprite. Now if you have a different number of costumes in the cloud sprite or whatever you're using, then you just need to change the second number to however many costumes you have. And now we're going to change how big these clouds are as well. So we're going to pull out a pick random 1 to 10, and we're going to put this over the 100 in our set size to 100%. Now the smallest amount we're going to make is we're going to make them the pick random under the first number is going to be 50, and the second number is going to be 100. So it's going to be somewhere between 50% to 100% of its size. And then we're going to put in our last random number generator. We're going to get out pick random and put it over the 1 in our wait 1 seconds. Make the smallest number a 0.2 and the biggest number 0.4. So it's going to be in between 0.2 seconds and 0.4 seconds. So that's like, it's like a fraction of a second. That might seem like it's going to happen too fast, but trust me, it'll look good. Okay, so that's our code for making our clouds. Now we need some code to make the clouds move down. I'm going to give you guys a second just to rest. I'm going to leave this up on the screen for you a little bit longer. Make sure you've got everything here. Alrighty. Okay, so hopefully that's enough time. What we're going to do now is we're going to put in some code to give our clones some instructions when we first create them. All right, you guys all ready? So I'm going to make some space. I'll put it over here. Why not? So we're going to go to Control and look near the bottom until you find When I Start as Clone. Drag out that When I Start as Clone. Put it off by itself. I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can see it. Now, we are going to hide our original cloud sprite, aren't we? So we need to make sure that the clones, when they are created, show themselves. So we're going to go to the purple category, Looks. Look near the bottom until you find Show. Drag that out and put it underneath When I Start as a Clone. All right, all seems good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to send these clouds to the back layer so that they're not going to be in front of any of our other characters. So we're going to send them to the back. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to look for Go to Front Layer. That's near the bottom. Drag that out, go to Front Layer, and put that underneath the Show. Now click that white triangle, and you'll notice you'll be able to switch that to Go to Back Layer. That will make sure that the clouds are always behind everything else. It's going to be behind all the enemies, going to be behind our main character, behind all of the lasers that we're shooting out. Okay, so now we need these clouds to travel down the screen until they get to the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Control, the orange category, and we're going to look for Repeat Until. Drag out that Repeat Until and put it underneath our Go to Back layer. Okay? And while we're here, look at the bottom of all of the control lines, control codes, and pull out delete this clone and put it on the very bottom after we've repeated whatever it is we're going to repeat. Because once it's reached the bottom of the screen, we need the cloud to delete itself. Otherwise, you'll just end up with this collection of clouds stuck on the bottom of the screen, and it'll look very dumb. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the green category, Operators, and we're going to drag out a less than operator. Now the less than operator, if you're in chat and you have the time, you're not too scrambling to keep up with me, can you type the symbol for what the less than is in computer coding? How's it going, Lanjit? You keeping well? Alrighty. Oh, you're my super fan, are you? Oh, I'm glad. Alright. Well, maybe if you've just joined us, you can answer some of my questions while everyone else is trying to keep up with the coding. What I'll do as well, actually, I'll share this. And I will, now that this is shared, I'm going to post the link for it in the chat. So if anyone's arriving here, wants to remix this, you'll have all of the code we've done so far, and you can just continue on with where we're up to. Absolutely, Ganna boy, you got it completely right. It's the arrow, the arrow, the V almost, that's pointing to the left. That's the symbol for less than. Okay, so we're going to drag out our less than operator. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the top of our operators. It's this little symbol pointing towards the left, towards the empty socket, and we're going to put that after our repeat until. So we're going to use this to figure out once our clouds have gotten to the bottom of the screen. So we're going to go to the dark blue category, motion, and scroll to the bottom, and you'll find this nice rounded Y position variable. Drag out that Y position and put it in the first little socket of our less than operator. And then click on that 50, delete it, and let's type in -178. I think that should do the trick. That's just a number that I figured out by trial and error, works pretty reliably. If you have clouds that are not deleting themselves once they get to the bottom, change this number, make it like -175 or -170, something like that. Delete them a little bit earlier when they get to the bottom of the screen. But I think -178 is a pretty good number for this. All right. So now the thing that we're going to repeat until we get to the bottom is moving down. So we're going to change Y, and we're going to change Y by a minus number. So we need to look for change Y by 10, put that inside our repeat until, click on that 10 and delete it and change it to -5. Good job, Langit. Hopefully I'll make sure that this is nice and saved, so you're hopefully up to date with everything. Okay, so I'm going to leave this code up on the screen so you can make sure that you've got it all in, make sure that you've got the arrow the right way around, and in the top right corner we're going to test the game. And what we should have is all of these clouds, and you can see they're behind the cat, which is exactly what we want, and they're being created at the top of the screen, and they're making their way to the bottom of the screen and deleting themselves once they get to the bottom of the screen. So that's perfect. That's making it look like our cat is sailing up into the sky somewhere. That's exactly the effect we want. All right, brilliant. So hopefully everyone's still on board. We've got our clouds working. Now we need to get our enemies working. Now the brilliant thing about our enemies is we are going to make them work very similarly to our clouds. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to delete this cat. So this cat sprite, just click on it, and once you've clicked on it, can you see that it's gone all blue? There's a little X. Delete that. Don't delete the cloud sprite. You need that. Now we're going to right click on this cloud sprite, and we're going to, once you've right clicked on it, you'll notice that 3 options come up. We might have a cat friend soon. Of these 3 options, you need to normal click on where it says duplicate. So now you should have clouds 2. No, cat, you can't play with the microphone. Down we go. So we're going to rename this sprite. So look underneath where our game screen is. You'll find where it says Sprite Clouds 2, just where I'm wiggling this mouse here. Select clouds 2, delete that, and type in enemies. Once you've changed that, we're gonna change the costumes. So we're going to go to the top left corner. We're going to click on costumes. We're going to delete some of these costumes. So you select them until they turn blue, then delete them. Then in the bottom left corner, click on choose a costume. So I'm going to choose a dinosaur because dinosaurs are cool and I like them. And you can choose whichever version of this dinosaur you like. I think I'm going to choose this one. I like that. You could even have multiple dinosaur costumes. I might even try that. So I've got a few different versions of this dinosaur, which I quite like. And take note of how many costumes you have. I have 3. So make sure you know that, because we're going to make some changes to the code. Not much, but we're going to make some changes. All right, so we're going to go to the code. I'm going to give you some time to make sure you've got your enemies done. So we're going to make some changes. Look for when green flag clicked. And then we've got our hide, our forever. We're going to change some numbers. So look for our go to X. This is all and we're making all these changes in our enemy sprite, not the clouds, okay? So go to X. Now I want these enemies to spawn a little bit more in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to change these numbers a little bit. I'm going to change this -230 until it's -200, let's say. I think that's good. And then I'm going to change the 230 to 200. That seems good. I'm happy with that. And you can change this more if you like. Then what we need to do is look for our switch costume to, hey Christopher, don't just spam stuff in chat, okay? Otherwise I'll have to time you out, and I don't want to. All right, so we've got set size to pick random. So we want to change switch costume to pick random 1 to 4. I'm going to change that to 1 to 3 because we've got 3 different types of costumes. And then we've got our set size to pick random 50 to 100. Let's change that to set size to pick random 20 to 100. We want a bit more difference in the size of these enemies. And then with our weight, that might be fine. That might be fine as is. Let's leave that as it is for now. Pick random 0.2 to 0.4. That's fine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make some changes to our. I'll leave this up just a little bit longer. Make sure you've got all these changes in. And if you don't change all these numbers, it will still work pretty much fine. Don't worry too much about it. And you can always check my project afterwards. All right. Now have a look for the when I start as clone code. And we actually don't need this go to back layer line. So I want you to grab our repeat until, drag it down until it detaches, and then grab our go to back layer and throw it away. That's the trick. You've always got to, if you pull something off, it will take everything underneath it away from as well. So you've always got to detach in that way first. That's the easiest way to pull out a line in Scratch. So this is all still fine, I'm pretty sure. That should all still work just as well. but we can change the speed at which our enemies are coming towards us. So you can change this later. Don't make it too fast, otherwise the game will be impossible. But for now, let's just click on this -5 and type in -6, just to make them move a little bit faster. And that's probably fine. Okay, so let's hit, while I leave this up for you, let's hit go and see if these enemies are being made. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Got these different enemies. Okay. And remember, you can always change some of these speeds a bit later if you want. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make our flying cat character. So, we're going to go to the bottom right corner and click on Choose a Sprite. Now you can choose whatever you like, but I'm going to choose cat flying. Now I like this one a bit more. I'm going to move it. I'm going to change the direction of it a little bit. And you can do this in the code as well. I just want it pointing up a bit more. So you can just click on direction just here, and you can spin it around until it's pointing in the direction that you like. I'm just going to make it like this. I'll give you a bit of time to make sure you've got the costume that you want for your player. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put in some very simple code to make sure that this cat follows the mouse pointer around. So we're going to go to Control. Actually, no, we're going to go to Events, the yellow category. We're going to drag out when green flag clicked. And we're going to go to the blue category, Motion. Actually, we don't need to go there just yet. We're going to go to Control, the orange category. We're going to grab out a forever loop. And then we're going to go to our blue category, Motion, and look for, about 4 from the top, go to Random Position, drag that out and put it inside the forever loop, but click on the white triangle and change it so that it's going to mouse pointer. So when you start the game now, you should have this cat following around your mouse pointer. Seems good. All right, we're going to add some more. Actually, we'll leave it there for now. Later on, we're going to put some code in here to make it so that if the cat touches a dinosaur, the game is over. But for now, let's make it so that we can't die. That will make it easier to test. Now this cat's a bit big for my taste, so I'm going to change the size. Where you've got size 100, I'm going to make that 60, I think. Yeah, I like that a bit better. Yeah, that seems good. All right. Now we do the fun bit. We're going to put in our lasers. So, hover in the bottom right corner over where it says choose a sprite, but don't click it. Go up 2 until you get to a little button that says paint, and click on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make just a very, very little, I'm going to zoom in because we only need this to be very, very little laser. I'm going to choose, so you can actually make this whatever shape you like, but I recommend you make it a very simple shape, like you don't add too much drawing to it. So a simple circle or a simple rectangle, that's what I would recommend.
Otherwise, if it's a complicated object, it's going to be harder for the game to make lots and lots of sprites. So I'm going to make the fill of I'm going to choose the rectangle tool. In the top right corner, I'm going to change the color of it so it's nice and yellow. On this fill section here, I'm going to make the outline here. And let's see what it looks like if I make just a little one like this. Once you've made it, look at it on the screen. That's a bit too chunky for my taste. I want it a bit smaller. That's looking a bit better, just a little bit longer. And I want the outline to be a bit thicker. That's a bit too thick. Okay, I like that. Then make sure you grab it and move it around until that little cross in the middle of it clicks into place with the little cross with the circle around it in the middle. And that will make sure that the sprite is properly centered. Yeah, that seems good. I like that. Now it's gonna call this one Sprite 1. We need to rename this so we know what it is. So underneath the game screen, type in, I'm gonna call it a laser. Little laser bolt there. You can call it whatever you like, as long as you know what it does. And as long as you remember, I'm going to call it a laser. So whenever I'm talking about the laser, that's what I'm talking about. And that you can adjust your code accordingly to reference the correct sprite. Okay, so we've made our laser. We've named our laser. We put some code in our laser now. So here's where things get interesting. Everything up till now has been fairly straightforward, and you've probably made games like this before. So we're going to start off by going to events, the yellow category. We're going to drag out a when green flag clicked. Have a look underneath. Now we're going to do some similar stuff to the other clones. We're going to go to the purple category. We're going to drag out a hide and put it underneath when green flag clicked. So once you've got these two, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make two variables. So to do that, you go to the really dark orange category, variables, and then in the top left corner, you click on make a variable. And we're going to call our first variable number of lasers. I'll give you some time to type that. And then, once you've typed that out, number of lasers, top left corner, click on make a variable again. And we're going to call this arc. So an arc is the angle at which a thing happens. And this is going to be the arc of how widely spread all of our lasers are going to be, all of our projectiles. Just ARC. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to pull out a set. It should say something like set arc. And we're going to set the arc to 90. Then we're going to pull out another set variable. Click on that white triangle. So we're going to set number of lasers to 5. So this arc is going to be the number of degrees. So a 90 degrees is a right angle. If you haven't done this in school, don't worry about what this means. Just know that this number refers to how wide or narrow the arc is. And then underneath there, we've got set number of lasers to 5. All right, once we've got all that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to control, the orange category. And we're going to drag out a forever and put it underneath set number of lasers. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the red category, My Blocks. Once we've done that, we're going to go to the top left corner and click on Make a Block. And we're going to call this block Spawn Lasers. Spawn in a video game context means create, make something appear. Now, one thing we need to do after you've typed this in is you need to make sure that you've ticked run without screen refresh. Tick that box. This will make this happen much faster. Normally, when you ask the code to do something, it takes an amount of time. So we're going to make all of these lasers one by one. You know, if we're making like 5 lasers, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, normally, you'll actually see the lasers take the time to actually be made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they'll kind of come out in order. But if we click run without screen refresh, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will happen instantaneously, and they will be all made at the same time. So we've got run without screen refresh ticked. We're going to press OK. So now you should have this define spawn lasers. Drag that off somewhere by itself. Top left corner, you should now have this little spawn lasers block. So this is called making a function. And basically everything that we put inside define spawn lasers will be contained in this line here, spawn lasers. So drag out this line, this little block, spawn lasers, and put it inside forever. We're going to put a bunch of stuff underneath define spawn lasers later. But for now, we need to make sure that we are making a gap in between each time we spawn the lasers. So we're going to go to Control. We're going to drag out wait 1 second and put it in our forever loop underneath where it says spawn lasers. But 1 second is a bit too long, so click on that and type in 0.1. So that will create the gap 0.1 seconds. Looks like I've got a bit of extra latency. Hopefully that's not too much of a problem for you guys watching. So we've got our forever spawn lasers, wait 0.1 seconds. So what is spawn lasers going to do? Let's do that now. So look for define spawn lasers. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the laser goes to the cat. So we're going to go to motion, the dark blue category. We're going to get go to random position, which is 4th from the top. But we're going to click that white triangle and we're going to select cat, flying, or whatever the name of your main character sprite is. So the lasers have to go to the cat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do some cool code here that will make our game work no matter how many lasers and how many and whatever the angle of the arc is. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out point in direction 90. So what we're going to do, so 90 is pointing to the right, so we need to change this. And 0, the number 0 is pointing directly up. So what we need to do is we need to measure from up the angle to the left and the angle to the right. So whatever our arc is, however many degrees, we need half of that to go to the left and half of that to go to the right, and then it will be symmetrical, right? So we're going to put in some code to make that happen. So we need to start, we're going to make our lasers, remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So we need to start on the left and work our way to the right. So we're going to start off by going to the left a minus number that is half of our arc. Okay? So to do that, nice and simple, we're going to go to operators, the green category. We're going to get out a minus and put that in our point in direction. Now you don't have to put anything in this first slot if you don't want to. If you do want to put something in there, put in a 0. But you can actually leave it blank and this code will still work, because we need to make sure that this is a minus number. And we need to take the arc number and we need to divide it by 2. So if anyone's got the time, write in chat what is the symbol for divide when we're doing computer coding. Everyone else who's just keeping up, 4 from the top, and there's a slash. That's the divide symbol. So it probably looks a bit different to the divide symbol that you're used to using in school, but this is how computers have, this is the divide symbol. This is the divide symbol that computers use. So we need to go to the orange category. So this divide symbol needs to go into the second socket of our minus symbol. Ganna boy, got it in 1 as always. Then we're going to go to variables. We're going to look in the top left corner for our arc, drag that out, and this needs to go on the left of our divide symbol. Hello Ayush Mishra, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. If you want to continue on with where we're up to, I'm gonna quickly repost the project in case you want to see where we're up to. I'll make sure it's all nicely saved, and if you want you can even remix it and continue on coding with the rest of us. Alright, so we've got our point in direction, gap, minus, arc, divided by 2. So that's what we need, okay? I know this looks like a lot, but as long as you remember, you start off with the minus. In the second slot of our minus goes our divide. In the first slot of the divide goes the arc variable, and the second slot is our divide by 2. So that's good. That's going to start us off now where we need to be on the left. Now we need to make a projectile move along, 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 make a projectile move along. That's fine, Ayush, no worries. You can just chill and just spend some time just watching the coding as well, whatever works for you. This video will be available afterwards so that you can follow it through if you would like to. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to, so now, remember we need to make the projectile move a bit, make another projectile move a bit, make the projectile move a bit, and do that. So if we have 5 projectiles, think about how many gaps are there between these 5 projectiles. There's 4, aren't there? There's 4 gaps. So if we wanted to divide up this angle, then we would need to take the number 5, take away 1, and that would give us how many gaps. If we were making 50 projectiles, there would be 49 gaps. If we were making 30, there would be 29 gaps. If we were making 14, there would be 13 gaps. The gaps are always 1 less than the number of projectiles we're making. So remember that. We're making that will be important later. So we're going to go to control, and we're going to get out a repeat 10. Drag out repeat 10 and put it underneath our point in direction. Now the number of projectiles we're making, that's nice and easy. So go to variables, look in the top left corner and drag out number of lasers. Put it so that the left side of it goes next to that 10, next to our repeat. So we've got repeat for however many lasers we're making. Okay? So then we're going to go to Control, and we're going to get out create clone of myself. It's going to make a clone of the laser. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the top left corner and click on motion, and we're going to get out the second one, turn right 15 degrees. Drag that out and put it underneath create clone of myself. I'm glad to hear that, Ganny boy. I try to make these nice and easy and simple to follow, so I'm glad it's working. Alrighty. Okay, so we're going to turn. Now this is where things get really cool. So we're going to go to operators. Now we're going to get out a divide operator. We're going to put this in our turn 15 degrees. So it's not going to be 15. We're going to drop this in our divide operator. We're going to go to variables. We're going to drag out arc and put it in that first slot of our divide by operator. Now remember what I said before? How many gaps do we have? Always one less than the number of lasers we have. So we need to go to operators. We need to drag out our minus and put it in the second slot of our divide by. Then we're going to go to variables. We're going to drag out a number of lasers, put it in that first slot, and we're going to take away or minus 1. So we're going to turn whatever our arc is divided by number of lasers minus 1. Okay. Now, these lasers are not going to go anywhere. So we'll hit go. Oh, also they're invisible because we haven't made them show themselves yet. But this is all the code that we need for our spawn lasers. Okay? I'm going to leave this up on the screen just for a little bit longer, just so you guys can make sure that you've got everything down. Hope everyone's going well, keeping up on everything. It's always, when I'm doing these live, it's always hard to gauge how fast I should be going, because if I go too fast, people get stuck, I have to go backwards, and that's annoying for everyone. Alright. So now we've got our, we're going to make our code for what our lasers should do. So we're going to go to Control. We're going to drag out when I start as clone. Look underneath when I start as clone. The first thing that we need to do is show. So let's go to the purple category, drag out a show. After that, you should see we've got these lasers, little bundles of lasers are being made. And that all looks pretty good. But they're not going anywhere yet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Control, drag out a forever loop, and then we're going to go to the dark blue category motion, drag out move 10 steps, put that in the forever. So now hit go, and that looks pretty good, right? The problem is that all of the clones aren't deleting themselves once they get to the edge of the screen. And also, they're moving a little bit too slow for my liking. So I'm going to change this move 10 steps to move 20 steps. That makes them move a bit faster. That looks pretty cool. Don't worry, Langit. If you are struggling, don't panic. If I'm going a bit too fast, you can just chill. Look at the code as it's happening, and then afterwards you can rewatch the video, and that way you can pause me and control the speed that you want. So, yes, this does look like Space Invaders. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put in some extra code. We're going to go to Control. We're going to grab out an if-then. Now put that underneath our move 20. And then we're going to go to sensing, the light blue category. Get the top one out, touching mouse pointer. You can see that this is going to fit in between the if and the then. But click on that white triangle and change it to edge, if touching edge. So now we're going to go to control, look at the very bottom until you find delete this clone, and that needs to go in the gap of our if touching edge then. Hit go, and here we have, that's good. Now when they touch the edge, they delete themselves. Alright, that all looks good. Now we need to make them delete themselves when they touch the enemies, the dinosaurs. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the if and then select of our if touching edge, duplicate and put right underneath. And then with this new duplicated one, we're going to go if touching, click on that white triangle and change it to enemies or dinosaurs, whatever they're called for you. If touching enemies. Then we're going to go to, we're going to do an old trick that I like to do. We're going to go to looks, the dark purple category. We're going to get out a set color effect to 0. Grab set color effect to 0. Click on that white triangle and change it to brightness. So we've got set brightness effect to, and then change it to 100. Oh, Langit needs some help. Yep, Ganaboy says, my game lagged after summoning all 300 clones, then it just stopped. Yes, if you make too many clones in your Scratch game, it will just crash. That's how Scratch works. As Ganaboy points out, I think 300, then it just stops. It will sometimes crash, or sometimes it will just stop making new clones. Okay, I'm gonna finish. Let's finish off the laser first, Langit. Then we'll have a look at the enemy code because we need to come back to it anyway. So if touching enemies, set brightness effect to 100, and then we're gonna go to control, grab out a wait 1 seconds, put it underneath set brightness effect. This is an old trick of mine. I like to make the lasers flash white before they delete themselves, just for a tiny little fraction of a second. And when I say a tiny little fraction of a second, click on that 1, because 1 is far too long. We're going to type in 0.05. 0.05 seconds. This is also important because we need to make sure that the enemies register the bullets touching them before they get deleted. It absolutely does look like Space Invaders, Ayush. Okay, so now we've got all this code going. We should have our bullets impacting these dinosaurs and flashing white before they delete themselves. So that looks pretty good. Okay. Hope everyone's got all this code for the laser. I'll just make sure that everyone's got it. And I'll make sure that my project is saved. So you guys look up the you can look up my project as well to see what's there, or even remix it from this point onwards if you want to nicely catch up with everything that we've got so far. Let's have a look at the enemies. Right, and what we'll do is I'll show this code up here. Actually, I'll see if we can quickly check out Super BF Diffan. All right. scrolling shooter. Let's see what's going on here. This is looking pretty good. See inside. Well, it looks like... Alright, okay, so the problem that you have for the acid... Is the acid spawning? So first of all, in your clouds, you need to look for when I start as clone. Look for repeat until Y position less than 50. Click on that, delete the 50, and type in -178. Okay? So that's the thing you need to do with your cloud sprite. Repeat until Y position is less than -178. And with your acid, I wonder if oh, I see the problem. So have a look. Can you see you've got repeat, but not repeat until? So, did anyone else pick up on that? So can you see we've got when I start as clone, show, and then repeat, but it needs to be repeat until. Okay? So you need to take out that repeat and change it into repeat until. Okay. The other thing that you might need to do is right-click on Define Spawn Laser in your laser and go edit it and tick this Run Without Screen Refresh. And that will just make your laser beams come out a little bit less crookedly. So you've got to right-click on it, edit, and then look for this tick on Run Without Screen Refresh. Okay? All right, so we'll get back to it, shall we? Very good, well done. Oh, your bullets don't move, Gunner Boy. Do you have move 20 steps forever? Do you want to share? Do you want to remind me of what your Scratch name is? I'll look you up. In the meantime, while Gunner Boy is doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to put some more code in our enemies. So we're going to go to when I start as clone. Actually, first of all, just to show you guys what all this cool code does. This means while Gunner Boy is gonna share with us his Scratch name, so we can have a look at the code and fix it. Look at when look at our set arc to 90 and set number of lasers to 5. Don't set this too high, but if you set this to some amount that's 360 or less, this arc, so let's say if we set this to 200, and we set the number of lasers to, I wouldn't go above 50 if you don't want your game to completely crash, then you hit go, you can see you can make a ton of lasers, and they're still nicely evenly spaced. And you can change it. Again, let's try 25 number of lasers. We could try 360 arc. And it's going all the way around. So it's pretty cool. And you can even make code in the game to change this if you want, like I showed you at the beginning of this stream. For now, I'm going to keep it at 90 and 5. But have a bit of a play with that, because that's the whole point of all that code that we did. You've now got this ability to make a ton of lasers if you want, which just looks very cool. All right, so let's check out Ganaboy on Scratch. Okay. Let's have a look. Scrolling shooter. Now, Ganaboy was saying his bullets won't move. See inside. Laser. Yep, you're just missing the move 20. You just need to move 20 underneath your forever. That's it. Nice and easy. Everything else is there. So what you need to do is go to laser, look for when I start as clone, show forever, and then directly underneath that forever, move 20 steps. All right. Nice and easy fix. All right, so once we're done with that, so normally at this point, this is the cool thing that I wanted to show you. But what I'll quickly do as well is we'll put some code into the enemies, and that way there's a bit more of a game here. And that will kind of be a bit more satisfying, because then you'll see what this is actually meant to feel like. So again, this was like a fairly fun little bit of code to make the enemies need different numbers of lasers to defeat. And we're going to do this by making making a new variable that is a local variable. So everyone, click on the enemies sprite. This is the last bit of coding we're going to do today. Click on the enemies sprite, and then go to variables. Click on the top left corner and click make a variable. Now this is very important, very important. You ready? Click on for this sprite only. Make sure that you've clicked for this sprite only. And then we're going to name this variable. I'm going to call it hit points. That's sort of how many times. Hit points is, you know, sometimes people call it health points or health or hearts if you like Minecraft, but it's how many times these enemies need to be shot with lasers before they disappear, before they are defeated. So I'm going to call it hit points. Make sure that you've got for this sprite only. This is going to make this variable have it's going to make for each individual enemy a new variable, a new individual number of hit points, which is a number that will tick down, just like any game. When you like Pokemon or Minecraft, when you run out of hit points, that thing is defeated, it's destroyed, it goes away, dies, whatever. So now we've got an enemy, which we've got this sprite, we've got this variable here, which should say enemies : hit points. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look for when I start as clone. Look for that code. We're going to get out a set variable too and put that right underneath the show. Okay, not inside the repeat. Set, click that white triangle, hit points, and here's a cute thing we're going to do. We're going to go to the purple category, looks, and look down to the bottom for size, drag out size, and put it over the 0 of our set hit points to. Okay? So set hit points to size. Now remember, the size is random, so they're actually going to be harder to defeat depending on what size they are. which I think is quite cool. The bigger ones, you have to shoot them more. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Control. We're going to drag out an if then, and we're going to put it underneath our change y by -6. If then, and we're going to go to the light blue category, sensing. We're going to drag out touching mouse pointer and put it in between the if and the then. Click on that white triangle and select laser. So if touching laser, then we're going to go to variables, and we're going to get out a change variable by. So we're going to put out change, click on that white triangle because we're going to change the hit points by, click on that one and type in, let's say -4. Now you can change the strength of the laser if you want. If you make it too much, then the game will be too easy. If you think the game is already too easy, change this to like -3 or -2 and see what the game is like then. So this is going to be how many points are deducted from the hit points each time a laser hits the enemy. And then we're going to go to Control. We're going to get out another if then. Now let's put this directly underneath our change hit points by. Change hit points by. And then we're going to do a check to see if we've run out of hit points. If we've run out of hit points, we need to delete the enemy. So we're going to go to operators, the green category, and we're going to get a less than operator. You guys remember which one that one is? It's the arrow pointing to the left. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the top. And you should have, in the second socket, we're going to change that to 1. So it's something less than 1. We're going to go to variables, and we're going to drag out hit points and put it in that first socket. If hit points less than 1. Then we're going to go to Control and look at the very bottom. We need to delete this clone. So we change the hit points by -4, then we ask a question. Have you run out of hit points? Are you on 0 or less hit points? If you are, delete yourself. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen, but I'm going to test it in the top right corner, and we should now be able to there we go. Delete, shoot down these enemies. So I've made it so that you're immortal, but if you want to make it harder for yourself, then just put a bit of code into the cat flying that checks to see if you're touching an enemy sprite, and if it does, it just stops the game. Or you can make your own game over screen if you want. That's a fairly sort of simple thing to do. But this was the main thing that I wanted to show you today. Sort of both this sort of cool ability to change the to make a number of lasers. So if I show you, I'm going to show you very briefly. I made some code right here, and I'm gonna save this code into the version that I've got. I won't make it step by step, but if you can even print screen this if you want right now. This code basically makes it so that you can change the arc and the number of lasers while you are playing using W, A, S, and D. So, for example, I can increase the number of lasers I have, and I can increase the arc at which those lasers fire around me, or I can decrease the arc. And I've set some maximums because the game will just freak out if you make too many lasers at any one time. But it's a cool little effect, and as I said, I'll just leave this up on the screen for a little bit, but don't panic. We're going to wrap up the stream now, and I'll update the project for you guys so you can come and check out the little bits of extra code that I've got here. You can also see a bit of simple code that just makes it so that the cat can't go too low on the screen, and which is just this here, and this code here, which is if touching dinosaur then stop all, or if touching enemy works just as well. So Ayush says, I don't know when the next live stream will be. I used to do these live all the time, but then I just found it easier with internet connection problems and that kind of thing to make shorter videos, that because a lot of people were watching the live streams afterwards and they were like, why are these so long and why are they so slow? And it's because, well, it's because they're live. Doing it with people who are doing it live. When you're watching my other videos, which are only 20 minutes or so, you're able to pause whenever you need me to, stop, and but you're not able to do that live. So a lot of people were watching the live streams not live, so that's why I sort of changed to making videos instead of doing these live streams. But this is fun. I always enjoy doing them live. I like being able to solve your problems. I like being able to check out your Scratch projects and chat with you guys and that kind of thing. I really enjoy that. So yeah, that's all pretty good. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Feel free to have a bit of a play with some of the numbers, change the speed at which things happen, see what happens when you change some of those numbers. So that's all pretty good. So as always, you can leave comments what you want future streams and videos to cover. If you subscribe and ring the bell, you'll get notifications when I'm doing future live streams. So someone was saying, I want to attend live. Well, if you subscribe and ring the bell, then you'll get a notification to your YouTube saying, Futures Lab is going to stream tomorrow or in 2 days or next week. And then that way you'll be like, next week, no problems, at 4 o'clock, I can do that. I hope wherever you are in the world, you are staying safe. And we'll probably, depending on how the lockdown in WA goes, we'll probably be back to normal videos next week, and I'll continue on the series that I was working on, which is the Match 2 card game. If not, then we'll probably do some more live streams. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys I hope you guys have had fun with this. So remember to stay awesome and be cool to each other and take care of yourselves. All right, we'll see you guys next time, ninjas.